Welcome to the Tree of Truth podcast with Lidstone and Lambeau. In this podcast, we search for common sense truth from a heightened human consciousness perspective. Heightened consciousness means we simply elevate our minds up above the confusion, the disagreement, and the dysfunction down on planet Earth in hopes of uniting all human minds around something called common sense truth. Today marks a turning point for our podcast. As always, we pursue the truths that can unite humanity, but now we're going to shift our focus to that which divides humanity, and that's money. Money is a necessary evil on this planet, and most human disagreements are caused by people fighting for their share. Let me introduce the term financial discrimination. This term implies that there's a central control of the money, and that leaves most of humanity on the outside fighting for the scraps. So, with that in mind, today we'll explore one of the richest human beings on planet Earth, Elon Musk. Because money is power, this guy has more power than Jesus Christ. So the question becomes, is he a good guy like Jesus or a bad guy? Today, we welcome back our guest from last week, Amy the Desert Brat. Amy has spent decades of her life searching for common sense truth in a cesspool of government orchestrated deception. So stay tuned. My pen name is Matt Lambeau, and I'm a human consciousness researcher and author. I will represent the Western Hemisphere. With me is the lovable Lucinda. She's a trained psychotherapist practicing for over 20 years, and she has her own very successful podcast called Talking Tea Leaves, which is featured on the growing YouTube alternative 1VSP. That's Talking Tea Leaves, found on the platform 1VSP. Lucinda will represent our Eastern Hemisphere. Together, we are your East-West connection in hopes of someday uniting the world around common sense truth, or what we call our Tree of Truth. You can find this podcast and everything else about Lidstone and Lambeau at treeoftruth.org. That's treeoftruth.org. With no further ado, let's welcome the lovable Lucinda Lidstone.
Hello.
Lucinda, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really, really good. Hey, happy Friday, my friend.
Oh, yeah, we've got that Friday feeling.
We do. It's the greatest. Why would anybody podcast on any other day but Friday?
Absolutely.
All right, my beautiful friend, what's the latest, greatest in your hemisphere?
Well, it's always great when we're allowed a tiny bit of blue sky, and we've had a tiny bit of blue sky today. So that's always good.
Yes, yes. And I'm with you. Give me sunshine. That's all I need.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I'm with you.
absolutely.
Hey, this podcast is good. Amy's back again. Okay. And you were the one who brought up the topic of Elon Musk.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, here's the beauty of this is you're intrigued by the guy. And Amy, I'm assuming is as well versed on what Elon Musk is all about. But the cool part for me is the little I know of Elon Musk really stemmed from the most part just his interview with Tucker Carlson. Are you familiar with Tucker Carlson or not as
Yeah.
much?
Yeah,
Okay,
but I
good.
haven't seen that particular interview.
Okay, well, in this interview, the part that captivated me was the discussion about whether this thing's going to be good or evil.
What, the
Okay.
AI?
Yeah, the AI.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, talking about AI. And what I found intriguing is I believe there was a division at the pinnacle of this thing. And Amy and you can set me straight, but it seemed to me like the knuckleheads over at Google decided, no, this thing's going to go one direction. And Elon Musk, I'm hoping, put on his white hat and said, I won't be part of it. So I'm excited to hear what you two have to say, because I'm going to be like most of the listeners that we're learning from what you two have discovered thus far. Does that work for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, then let's bring Amy in. Amy, how are you this morning?
I'm fantastic. Forgot about the time change thing between us and Lucinda, so I came on a little early, but there was like, okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, with Lucinda and I were talking a little bit about that. It's kind of crazy that we switched the time to begin with, and then even more so that the world can't coordinate it.
right? Yeah, and there's some states here that do it and some that don't. And I mean, I understood it back in the day for the farmers because they needed the light, they needed all that, whatever. I get that, but now their equipment is so lit up, we don't need it.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Well, good. Let's shift gears into Elon Musk. Lucinda, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so how is he promoted? He's promoted, or he promotes himself rather, as somebody who's really invested in human beings and is going to save not only the human race but also planet Earth. But he's a liar, dare I say, allegedly a liar, because one of the things he says is that he comes from humble beginnings and is this entrepreneur that's self-made and he's done really well. But it's rumored that his family actually owned an emerald mine and his family were already quite affluent. And apparently in 2014, he did an interview where he acknowledged that that the existence of this emerald mine, and since then he's denied that because it doesn't suit his narrative. And again, he promotes himself as a man of the people, but he treats his workers absolutely appallingly. He expects them to do, work until 9 o'clock at night. Sometimes he's sort of coerced people apparently into sleeping in the office overnight. He's against unions that would protect workers' rights. And another repeating behavior that he seems to have is that he overpromises and then doesn't deliver. And we're going to look at different aspects of his portfolio, if you like, from Tesla to Neuralink to PayPal, etc. And with all of these things, he likes to promote himself as a founder of a lot of these businesses, and actually he's not. He's just taken over in the early stages, or his existing company has merged with the other company. So he likes to promote himself as a founder. And he, as I say, he overpromises. He doesn't deliver on his promises. And I would say allegedly. We're only giving our opinions on this podcast. Right. I think it's important to say that we're not saying that this is fact. This is just all of us having looked at the information. This is our opinion. So that's a bit of background of him as far as I'm concerned. So what's your view on that so far, Amy?
Well, I got to agree with you in a lot of ways. The guy's he's going to be 53 this year. You look at past pictures of what he looked like a few years back and then what he looks like today. Like, okay, there's a lot of differences there. So I'm not even sure if it's the same person, but you're right. He does come off to be the founder, the CTO, the CEO, the this, the that. I know he was born in South Africa. He's got citizenship there, Canada and the United States. Great. I know that, one of the things that he's got that I think has been troublesome to me more than anything is the Boring Corporation. I don't know if you know what that is.
So we'll tell our viewers, Amy.
Okay, so the Boring Company, it is an American company. It's an American infrastructure that it's this giant. You'd have to look it up online to be able to see what exactly it looks like, but it's this giant machine that bores into the ground or into the sides of mountains. I mean, you can, semis look little in comparison to the size of the holes that they are making. And they can do anywhere from a mile to 7 miles a day, a number of the tunnels that they've done, one of which is in Las Vegas. Matt, you were in Vegas not that long ago. I don't know if you guys use the tunnel or not, but it's like a high speed thing. Now I know that there's tunnels that are all over, the world underground, many of which are quite deep underground, but this in particular. So that one is a bit troubling to me, because I don't know kind of where he sits, with I'll go with it, the Illuminati, the cabal on that side. So that's something that really bothers me.
Do you mean
But
that these tunnels might be connected to underground civilizations? Is that where you're
yeah,
going with that? Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of thinking, that he's had a big part of that. I know that these machines have been around for a really long time. And I know that, he kind of started doing a little bit more, or it became um, more in the public eye, so to speak, in like 17 and 18, 2017 and 2018, that we all started seeing more of it, but it's been around for quite a long time. So I'm kind of like, that really bothers me, because where do these tunnels go? We already know that there's underground cities. We already know that there's, all these different things, deep, deep. So is he a part of that? I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to find out though.
Because I think one of the fronts for those creating of the tunnels was to ease congestion, because it's always promoted as a good thing, isn't it? And
Mhm.
but it turned out that it was only going to be people that were driving his Tesla cars that were allowed to use the tunnels, allegedly.
Right.
And if you're trying to ease congestion, then you'd want a very fast moving train. No difference to your subway and our tube. So it doesn't make sense how it's being promoted.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in your take on that. Tunnels to underground cities. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. I've been kind of researching that for, let's see, this is 24. Oh gosh. More heavily, I think, in the last 10 years, but I started identifying these tunnels probably 25 or so years ago. I have to kind of go on my granddaughter's age because a lot of things happened before her. And even my kids, because they're like approaching 40. So it's like time frames. Anyway, but yeah, that kind of bothers me. And as far as, being one of the richest guys, you're right, Matt. He's, on paper, he's worth $195 billion. I mean, that's not even a number that any of us can, identify with. We're like, what is that? What does that look like? It's like more than a train of cash. So yeah.
So when
Um,
let me if when you have that kind of money and you talk in terms of the Illuminati or the cabal, I mean, this guy's got a seat at the table.
He
Okay.
must have. He must
And
have.
yeah,
both
yeah, you're
tables.
right. Allegedly, right? We have to
Yeah.
always throw the allegedly. From my perspective, the biggest power brokers, just the way I have your cell numbers, they have theirs. And so the question, Lucinda, you made a good point that saying, you know, is there a case to be made that when you have that kind of money, it will, how do you distinguish what's good and what's bad, what's self-fulfilling? Like if he's presenting something like, listen, I'm putting all these highways in and that's good for the people, but then is it just a natural human inclination to have the larger purpose be self-fulfilling? In other words, I mean, if he's doing that, I mean, is that just the way all human beings would do it? That it ultimately comes down to whatever's important to them themselves?
I think it isn't money, is it? It's, as you say, what you're going to do with it, and it's power. It's always about power. And I guess as a therapist, I'm always looking at it from that perspective. And the sense I get of him is that if you've got that much money, any thought, any whim, any idea you have, you can just see if that floats, can't you? Whereas, we would have to, with our level of income, we would have to really struggle to get things started. But any weird sort of creative idea, anything he wants to try, he's got the money at his fingertips to be able to make that a reality. And let's face it, I'm a writer, you're a writer, Matt. A lot of what we write isn't worth reading. You have to rework it, you have to refine it. Not every creative thought that you have is of value. So I guess it's the power that comes with that money, that you can put an action into the world could just be a whim. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Oh, I do. Oh, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Without question.
Mm.
the question is if we had that money, the three of us, it's just it seems like our inherent nature, our innate nature is that we would want to use all of it for good. All of it, that you couldn't force us or even convince us to use it for selfish purposes. And I guess I find it astonishing that yeah, I guess my big thing is I'm trying to figure out who the good guy in all this is. I really thought on the surface that he was one of the good guys. Now, again, a lot of the criticism he might be getting, we have to distinguish if that's an ad hominem attack, the guy's just a dickhead, or if what he's, you know what I mean? Separate that from the narrative and his intentions, like our founding father, like
Well,
Donald Trump.
he's allegedly on the autistic spectrum. So that's gonna impact how he comes across. But he seems to be quite a charmer. I mean, he's had endless number of children. He manages to get people to invest in things without, with really deceiving them. So he must have a level of charm. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to do that. So and coming back to your point about money, I wouldn't want my life to change that much. I mean, we all want more money, don't we? Because we want more choice. But I honestly wouldn't, millions and millions and millions, your whole life would change, everything about you. We can't understand, as Amy said, we can't understand what it is to live at that level. You can't even comprehend that. So, and I think if I had millions and millions and millions, I'd end up giving most of it away because I'd want other people to kind of be sharing in that, as you say, Matt. So,
right.
But he's come from a background already of affluence. So I don't know. But surely that must, I don't know. I just think that nobody on this planet should have that much power, because I don't think it's healthy, is it? How can that be morally right to have that power?
He says that we need to have secure borders. We need to have safe cities. We need to have sensible spending. Those are like three major things that he always goes back to, right? But with $195 billion, couldn't he finish the border? Add more police, if you will, to the cities to make them safer. As far as sensible spending, I don't think that he has room to talk because he can do anything and everything. We're the ones that are sensible because we got to watch every penny, every dollar, everything. Does he even know what sensible spending is? I mean, I got a granddaughter that's turning 21 coming up, and I'm like, okay, so she wants to go here for dinner. There's 14 of us. That's going to go on the credit card because, shit, at $30 a head plus whatever, they drink, that's a lot of dough to put out, and I mean, I raised my granddaughter, so she's my daughter, and this is a big birthday, but, and for him to host a party for, I don't know, 500 people is pocket change. Me, pocket change is going to the coffee shop. I don't know.
Well, I guess it's a good point. So maybe we would agree with him on that, that we want our economy to be better. We want safe borders. We kind of spoke about that last week. And the one truth I think he does speak is that we're sold this lie through the whole climate change thing. We're sold this lie that we're overpopulated. And actually, the birth rate has been coming down since the baby boom after the Second World War. And we're now at the rate of not being able to repopulate, and it's becoming a concern. So, and he does speak out about that. So I guess we can give him credit there.
Right. And he made a comment, was it last week or the week before, that he was pretty excited about the fact that Europe is paying attention to the data as far as the beta blockers for kids, and that they're going to take that off the table now for reproduction and all that for the kids.
Right.
Is that something that's actually taking place over there? I didn't know for sure, but
I
I
don't know
heard
about
that, and
that.
I thought, ooh, I'm going to ask Lucinda.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I've not heard that. I've not heard
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that was something that came up, and I was like, interesting. So, and he was pretty pleased about the whole thing. So I have a whole bunch of notes that I wrote because I have questions too for you.
Okay.
Your thoughts. Your thoughts as we go, because they kind of play right in together. So it's kind of neat. But yeah, I was surprised that he actually expressed that, and I thought that was great because that says something about humanitarians. So I thought that was good. But I mean, he does say a lot of things. He talks about the woke ideology. He talks about free speech. Without free speech, we've got nothing. So I praise him for those kind of things. He does talk about the ridiculous amount of illegals coming into the U.S. But yet again, you got 195 billion dollars. Finish the border, Elon. Come and help us out. Do this. You moved your company from California to Texas. You're not far from the border. Do something.
Right. That is indicative of a person's character. Okay. Because the fact that he's got such a platform and could make such a difference, yet doesn't, that speaks loudly that it's more lip service than true commitment to the cause. Now, let me ask you this. A lot of times if I don't know exactly what someone thinks, I can conclude by looking at who opposes them. Okay. Who's his opposition? Is he supported by like Republican Party or Democrat Party or globally? I mean, who loathes the guy and who supports him?
You'd have to answer that, Amy.
Both. I think it's a little of both. But generally for the Republican side, I think that especially lately, it's been more of what we refer to as the rhinos, Republican in name only, that have been opposing him versus the others. The others I haven't really heard say a whole lot about him. So it's hard for me to comment on that one. I know that he and Trump are, fairly good, seem to be fairly good friends. And that's because he is part of, he's got SpaceX, and, I believe that he's also got a part to do with Space Force. Yeah. So with that, and being that Trump is our commander in chief, he's on top of all of that. So I think that for that there's some pretty good support there, and with the military. I know that he had a lot of successful missions with SpaceX. Some people saw them as failures, but to me, it just kind of furthered a little bit more of what I know as far as once you hit a certain point in the atmosphere, there's it's a stop. So our satellites are all within this bubble, but people think that they're outside of that bubble. They're actually inside the bubble.
Yeah, you're talking about the Van Allen belt, the radiation belt that would just fry everything that went through it. Yeah. And,
so
you're right. He reinstated Trump on Twitter, now X, didn't he? After
I don't know.
Trump,
yeah,
he did. Yeah, apparently he did. Yeah.
Well, that says something about free speech.
I don't think
he promotes free speech.
Yes,
he does.
Yeah.
And I have to say, yesterday was interesting because I was on both X and on Truth Social. And somebody made a comment about a lot of patriots still not being able to get on Twitter, X. And I was like, oh, that's really odd, because I know that once he was up and running, took it over, it took me probably about 5 months to get back on it. But there's still a lot of people that aren't on it. And especially on Truth Social. And I think some of them are a little mad about it, but I'm like, I don't know what there is to really be mad at. I'm not mad at Facebook. I could care less. I got knocked off Facebook, Matt, 6 years ago? Because they didn't like what I was saying, and that's fine. I don't miss it. But the people that I do see on X are, they're very informative. They're very smart. They're on the truth side. And when somebody has, I'll go with a negative comment, or they're not really as educated as a lot of people are, they become educated, and their attitude and their tone and even their postings change. So it's been interesting watching that. And there are truly a lot of patriots worldwide on there. So I don't know, but I know that Trump said that he will not go back on Twitter because he has his own Truth Social. So I think that if anybody is posting anything over there under his name, it's probably somebody that they've got working for Trump. Definitely not him. And they're just reposting his comments, is what I'm going to say. That's my opinion. I don't know for sure, but I do know that when, Trump said that he wasn't going to do it again, I don't think he's ever gone back on anything. When he says, I'm doing this, he does it. If he says, I'm not doing it, he doesn't. So that's just my thought on that.
Shall we move into, I want to know what you both think about this Neuralink of his. So it's the idea that you have this kind of chip in your brain, and that then you can control things telepathically. So you can make your mouse move, and you've got access to, if you follow that through, you've got access to all information. And he's trying to create telepathy. And I was listening to another guy, I'll find his name in a minute, who'd kind of extended that thought. And again, it's promoted as something helpful. Initially, it's like to help those people with debilitating medical issues, etc. And if we could all read each other's minds, we'd be much more empathic. But I find it really frightening. I find this idea almost of the hive mind quite frightening. And there's been so many legal cases against him for animal cruelty. And he's saying that on their website, I don't know if you had the chance to look, but on their website, they're saying that they've already had the first human with this implant, and he's recovered and is fine. And yet when you really delve into it, the animals, they say that there was up to 1,500 animals, maybe more, that had to be euthanized or died, and because of things that went wrong with the experiments. And his answer was, oh, well, they were all, terminally ill anyway. But some of the reports are so awful as an animal lover, that these animals, the monkeys, were in so much pain that they were smashing their heads on the floor. And other ones where they chewed their hand off, although I haven't been able to verify that report. So terrible, terrible suffering from these animals. But Matt, coming back to your point, you always want to reach the young people, quite rightly so, because they're the future. And my fear about this Neuralink is that young people would absolutely sign up for it. And then once you've got that chip in your brain, can you be controlled? There's so many ethical issues that brings up for me. So I wanted to know what you both thought about that.
Okay. Yeah, when I think about it on the surface, okay, some sort of a brain implant, it instantly makes me think in terms of the reality of a UFO, the reality of these different frequencies and different intelligences. And I would surmise that Elon Musk has access to that. And so it strikes me as somewhat logical that these people with all of this power, really, especially like along the lines of Bill Gates, just have nothing better to do than to start dabbling in the management of the entire human race. It's like if you're sitting up on a spaceship looking down, there's 7 billion of these little people. Let's run some tests and see what makes them click, Then when I think of the diabolical aspect of it, I'm comforted by, I know there's a loving creator who's watching all this stuff, If they start putting chips in people's brains, or again, causing the next generation, because obviously they can be deceived. It's all about the semantics.
Mm.
It's Orwellian deception. They've been at it the entire time. And now with the advent of AI, everything's just off to rocket ship speed in terms of gaining intelligence. And so I guess it would, if I'm, again, it just seems like the nature of the human soul is one of compassion. And it's crazy that any human being could become such a mad scientist where they have a disregard for the pain and suffering of animals. It blows my
Mhm.
mind that this diabolical thought process actually exists on this planet, you know?
You're
And
talking as an empathic person, and this is the thing. I don't think that, I think they lack empathy. And I know, working with people on the autistic spectrum, not all of them, but some of them can lack empathy. And also, I think the other wrong road that they go down is that they're reductionists. They reduce everything to this physical body. And I'd like to know, does Elon Musk have any sense of the spiritual? Does he have any sense of the divine? Because I don't think they do. And if you think that this is all that you've got and all that you are, then that they haven't got the same perspective on life as we have now, do they?
yeah, one more comment, Amy, then I'll let you take over.
Sorry, Matt.
In my
Oh,
world, no, in my world, seriously, it's, to me, selfishness
Mm.
is synonymous with sin. Anywhere you see sin in the Bible,
Yes.
you can substitute selfishness, which means Elon Musk has his own paradigm of this energy. Nobody else shares it. And in that paradigm, if it's all about himself, you're right, that's an absence of God, because the moment the light comes in, we become more Jesus-like, where we put others first. It's a natural inclination. And I just believe that once you're caught in that selfish mode, like, again, every baby is born inherently selfish. It only knows its own paradigm. Okay. And some people never grow out of that. Their entire existence has always been about their perception of this world. And why these people gain power doesn't surprise me at all. If it's all about me, then obviously I'm going to take steps to get elected or to gain power or what be it, because it's all about me. And so it might be a case where once you reach the heights of power like that, yeah, the light is gone. You're immersed, your soul is immersed in the darkness, and you couldn't be compassionate along the lines of Jesus if you wished, if you tried. Amy?
I agree. And as far as this chip thing goes, to me, you're right. I think that they're trying to remove the spirit, our consciousness, but they can't. They can't do it because it's not what they think that it is. They think that they have it. But by doing this chip, yeah, it's a type of control. And if you've looked at some of the different things that have come out militarily, where they're creating like these superhumans. I don't know if you've seen that, where, I mean, these guys can run, they can pick up, they can do all kinds of crazy things that the average guy can't do. I mean, you look at some of these weightlifter people. I'm not into all that stuff, but I watched these guys. I saw these guys on TV the other day, and I was like, what a bunch of fat asses. And I mean, judgy on my part. I know. But here they're lifting like 1,200 pounds, but then you look at these superhumans that they're creating, and they can do it, and they're toned, they're tight, they're this or that. That's scary. It's very, very scary. And the AI thing, I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. My grandkids, they've got those game
Virtual
things.
reality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked through one of my grandson's view things, and I was like, oh my God, I can't deal with this.
It makes you feel ill. Yeah.
Yeah. And, but they are all so into it, and it's so lifelike that it makes me think of, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Total Recall, but when that came out years ago, but it made me think of that. And, people want to go into this virtual reality that isn't, but they can create it if they want to. It's the spirit within, not without, and that's to me, that's an Elon Musk thing, where they're creating this virtual thing that is of non-reality to make, and it's devil work. I'll just go with that. It's just devil work, because they're, what does Lucifer do? Lucifer you know, I don't even know if I want to call him Lucifer, anyhow, but makes all these promises, all these grandeurs, all these beautiful things, yada yada yada, and you're this kind of person. You see this and you go, oh yeah, I want that, and then you look back at heaven and it doesn't maybe seem quite as beautiful or promising or this or that, and you go, oh, I want that, so then they go there and it's burning and people are screaming, they're being tortured, and this is what they're doing to the animals and to the people, because who wants that? It's the medications today, most of them are synthetic. People don't realize that, what they're putting into their bodies. They're poisoning everybody. We are our own healers. We are, and God has given us all these amazing things, plants, etc., to create our own, and I mean, we find beauty in what we find beauty in, and other people, they have to have somebody tell them what beauty is, and what magnificence is. And I don't understand that. I'm just kind of like, whatever. You people do you, but I don't want that chip. I'll never get that chip. Nobody in my family will get that chip either. So
Okay.
they can go flat to hell.
Okay, brilliant. And Matt, last question about that. Do you think young people will take it up if it was available? What's your feeling?
Yeah, probably. I suppose my biggest concern is if all of a sudden it was a mandate. That's the part that concerns me. If it's voluntary, I would bet quite a few of them would stand in line and say, "I'll do that." And I know it's a huge step, but it's not a whole lot different than the way we're tracked today. With cell phones and technology, and they pretty much, if they wanted, I mean, too, now pretty much anything you sign up for, you log in with your Google or your Facebook or what be it, which just means it's just this big connection, digital connection where they know everything about us. And so
that they can shut you down.
yeah, absolutely. Or, the shadow banning is even more dangerous than the shutting down, because that way, if you're shut down, you've been shut down. If you're being shadow banned, you just think you're unpopular, that nobody cares about what you have to say. And that's
Right.
very detrimental. Yeah, go
But
ahead.
if they do the chip, imagine if they shut you down there. I got to tell you, I'm going to give you a little bit of a scenario. My daughter had a really bad back injury, and she's had multiple surgeries. And one of the things that one of the surgeons wanted to do is they wanted to put in a neurostimulator. Lucinda, you know what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was very much against it. Very much against it. They gave us two different things. We're going to do this one or we're going to do this one. And I don't know if you want me to name the two or not. I can. I don't care. So we did a lot of research on the one in particular, because that was the main one that they were going to use. Fine. My daughter was like, Mom, I don't want to be, paraplegic my whole life. I want to get back to life. I want to be able to do things. I want to walk. Because I mean, this was a horrible, horrible accident that she had. And I'm like, ultimately the choice is yours. So she took it. They put in a stimulator, and this was a test stimulator that was supposed to be in for a few weeks to see how it worked. And I got it, and it was run by a computer. Somebody else was operating. What she could do is turn it up or turn it down for pain frequency. But overall, it was controlled by somebody else. And I really had a hard time with that. This is coming to the chip thing. Anyway, so because that was successful, okay, now they got to take that one out, and then they put the permanent one in. Okay. So again, I'm absolutely against this whole thing. Well, once they got this in, it was 2 days after the surgery, we had to meet with the representative that hooked her up to their computer. Okay. And it was body manipulations and different things that they were able to control. And they just told her, relax, this is what we're going to do. You're going to feel this, you're going to feel that. And depending on the frequency. Okay. So, okay, they get that set up, and I'm just sick. 4 days later, we're having a family Sunday lunch. We do our Sundays every week. Anyway, this thing went off on its own, and it went from a 0 to a 25. Okay, it was electrocuting her from the inside out. We could not turn it off. We did everything as far as the emergency shutdown. I'm on the phone with some person that's in another country that has no idea what to do. And remember, it's a Sunday, right? So, I mean, finally, we were able to disconnect it, but it kept sending surges, right? Even though it was disconnected. This happened repeatedly. We're on the phone with the doctor. We're in the doctor's office. We're doing all kinds of stuff. It took 3 months of fighting them to take this thing out of her. Okay. She has an electric wheelchair, but she's also, because of our faith and our strength that we've got, our connection, it took a while before she could walk again, but she can walk, she can run. She still does the jolting like this at times. And if she has to go to a grocery store or this or that, she does have to use the electric cart because it's too much walking. But my fear is this implant that they want to put in the brain is going to be of that kind of a caliber where you don't have control. They might tell you you do, but you don't. Somebody else is operating it on the other end. And if they're gone on the weekend or a holiday or this or that, and it goes wonky like it did with my daughter, it's going to kill people.
Yeah, so
It's
there's
absolutely going to kill people.
Yeah, that inherent danger is pretty evident. Let me ask you this: when they're contemplating putting something in their head or their brain, when you think in terms of telepathy, why would anybody in their right mind want others to know what they're thinking? That's the beauty of the spoken word, is you can think and then you can distribute into the universe what it is you believe. And I can't fathom, and even in the spiritual world, when we pass on to the next life, I can't fathom that everybody knows what the other one's thinking.
I've got so many thoughts about that. The first thing is, as a therapist, I know only too well how people are tortured by their intrusive thoughts that they feel they've got no control over. And we all have intrusive thoughts that come unbidden. And when we're healthy, we don't take any notice of them. They're just the detritus that's on the tide kind of thing. But we have this stream of thoughts. Most of it is rubbish. Most of it is not useful in any way. So what do we mean when we're saying we want to read other people's thoughts? Because a lot of it is drivel. And then this other guy, I will find his name in a moment, who was talking about this stuff, said, but how brilliant to have such an intimate relationship with your partner that you have no secrets from them. I don't need a chip in my brain to have a deeply intimate relationship with my partner and to trust him implicitly and to share my innermost thoughts. I don't have to do that. But I also think it's really healthy to be an individual and to have thoughts that I don't necessarily share with him. And it's not because I have secrets. It's just that's what it is to be a healthy human being. But coming back to your awful story there, Amy, this is how they get you, isn't it? Because what person, if you were paraplegic or, if you were in a wheelchair, what person wouldn't want something that's going to enable them to walk? That's how they get you, isn't it? Because on the surface,
sure.
of course you would want that. But it's what comes with that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
sure
I think again, Matt, in answer to what you were saying, and I see this in psychology all the time, we're reduced to neurons firing in the brain, and behaviorists, people and psychologists think that is what it is, that we are literally just the brain. And, there's probably, maybe you haven't heard of him, but there's an English biologist, Rupert Sheldrake, who's proved that, particularly with memory, it doesn't live in the brain. It doesn't live in the circuitry of your brain. It lives in a field, and you tap into that field. And I think that's what they're missing. They're reducing us all to being, as Alex Tsakiris would say, a biological meat suit. And we're not. We're not that. And I think that's their great flaw. They just do not realize that at all.
And
Yeah,
they've been fighting to get it for a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
That's like the adrenochrome. I'm sorry, Matt.
no, go ahead, Amy. Please.
It's like the adrenochrome. What is that to the rich? What is that to the elite? It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and adrenochrome is, through here up into the brain to get a small pocket of the blood, and the more fear that's instilled in the person that they're getting it from, the more potent it is. And that's what the elite has called this, fountain abuse, So, and another scary thing that they do, it's nuts, and they're going to all disappear one day, and it's going to be the three of us going, all right.
Well, just for our viewers that don't know, adrenochrome allegedly is the blood taken particularly often from children that they've tortured and abused, and because you release all sorts of endorphins and neurotransmitters, etc., and they use that blood to promote youth and longevity. And that was something I was listening to today. But again, it's reducing everything to the material. And okay, who wouldn't want 20 years of extra healthy life, maybe 30 years, but 100 years? Would you want to live for 200 years? Like, once you've done everything and you've had every experience, what else is there to do? And it misses the point, which is that we're spirit first and we come here for a human experience. And it's a bit like never graduating from school, isn't it? It's who really, when you think about it, who really would want to live forever?
Yeah, not me. To me, it's what is their motive? Like, again, the Alex Tsakiris is big on this, the materialism, and how they're so concerned to let the spiritual truths out of the bag. That it's all an exercise here, and you're limited to this human scope. And other than control, I can't imagine why anybody would push that narrative. I mean, all you have to say is near-death experience, and all of their theories go out. They've got this massive piece of data that they've omitted to further their narrative. And with me, it always comes down to I'm perplexed by the motive. I wonder if conscious souls come from the light and they're co-opted to the darkness, or are some of these people just truly from the darkness? Because it's unfathomable that somebody would have that type of agenda, that's saying, I want to control. I mean, again, I use Jesus because it was his example. And it's just a case where there is so much joy that comes through helping others prosper.
Mm-hmm.
The only true joy in this world comes through giving. And to be in a powerful position to give and just reap massive amounts of spiritual joy, I can't fathom that they don't fall on that side. They fall into the darkness. And so again, when in the largest picture of all, I try to figure out, how do we reconcile this entire shit show, everything we just discussed, with a benevolent, unconditional, loving creator? And the only way I can reconcile that in my mind is we're here for this. This is it. We're down here so that there's going to be all kinds of little demons on this planet that want to put chips in our heads and control our lives. I mean, they're disrupting the human experience. If we, what's their opposition to free will on this planet? Man, everybody wants to control someone else, and yet, from a divine perspective, it's all about our free choice and free will as a human on this planet.
Most precious thing God gave us was free will. That's the whole point. Yep. So should we move into Tesla and electric cars?
Yeah.
So apparently shares in Tesla have dropped by 30% since the beginning of the year. And people at Tesla are quite worried because they believe that Musk is bringing disrepute onto the company. And again, he didn't create Tesla. That's another meme that's put out there, that it was already established by a couple of guys, can't remember their names, and one of them was he forced out. I think they settled out of court, and one of the conditions was that Elon Musk was able to say that he was a founder of Tesla, and he absolutely wasn't. And I'll let you riff on this in a minute, Amy, but I guess the thing that really annoys me is that sorry, excuse me. Just being interrupted there. Is that it's promoted as like, good for the planet, etc. But all their tokens that they get for being a good green company, they sell them off to other people to buy. So you can actually buy tokens, as it were. So it just makes a mockery of the whole green agenda, which we all know is an absolute load of bloody rubbish. And
Right.
and the mining of lithium, the danger that does to the planet, the amount of water that whole process uses. So any benefits, so-called, of having an electric car are absolutely cancelled out by by the lithium mining and what that does to the planet. So yeah, so take it away, Amy. What's your take on electric cars and Tesla?
Well, you're right. Their stocks have gone down. I mean, if you were to come out here to California, and like last weekend, I was in City of Industry, and I think I was probably the only gas-powered vehicle on the road. There were Teslas everywhere, and Priuses, and all this. And I'm looking at these vehicles, and I'm cracking up because I'm thinking, you people have absolutely zero idea, one, where your batteries are coming from, what they're made of, as far as the iron, the lithium, the manganese, just everything, and the mining that goes behind it. The batteries, if you're lucky, might last you 7 years, but what they don't tell you when you buy them is that they run anywhere from, I think it's 7,000 to 20,000 per I forget what it's called, module, I think it is, and most all of them have 4 in each one. Now think about the cost of that in replacing a battery, plus when not only do you have to pay for that battery and pack, but you have to pay a minimum of a $1,500 installation fee. And I'm saying this out of sheer 100% knowledge of this, because a friend of mine bought a Prius, and I really, really, really gave him a bad time about it, because he's like, oh, I'm going to save on this, I'm going to save on that. Well, 18 months in, he had to replace his battery.
Yeah.
Which just cost him $7,000 per module, plus the $1,500.
I would say that's cheap. I would say that's cheap.
Yeah, for that one. I mean, it's not a high-end Prius.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were a Tesla, it would be more. But regardless, I mean, what do Priuses cost today? Brand new ones, probably what, 27, 28,000. But when you're looking at, a minimum of $2,100, say it would be 28 for the modules, and then the $1,500 installation of it. That's crazy. And then they go on and on and on about, the charging stations. They go to a charging station. Well, what do you think runs those charging stations? Fuel powered generators.
Yeah, exactly. Diesel generators. Yeah.
And most people have no idea, or they choose to deny the fact, which I find to be, I don't know, I find it to be sad, but I find it laughable at the same time, because they're getting these kickbacks. Then they go home to their solar powered homes, and think, oh, it's free. No. You're charging You're doing all this stuff. You're only limited so far. If the vehicle runs so far, I don't care. I'm going to keep my gas powered vehicle and I'm going to drive. You know, I don't get great mileage because I drive a Hummer. So, but I mean, if I'm on the freeway, I'm going to get 450 miles to that tank, you know, which is pretty good. In town, it's less, but a Tesla can't go that far, you know. And I'm like, why? What's
Well,
the point?
I
And
can't
these people
imagine.
realize what's going on because, like you were talking about the mining, you know, I mean, talk about slave labor,
Mm.
slave labor. And do you know that there is not a single plant or animal that can live within a 30-mile radius of those mines? Can't survive
That's
because of the
terrible.
poison. Yeah.
And I can't
So
imagine how you would get on traveling in the States where you have to travel for miles and miles and miles. Because even here, you've got to plan your route. If you've got an electric car, you've got to plan your route where you're going to be charging. And you can't charge it in 5 minutes, can you? You know, it takes 5 minutes to fill up your tank with petrol, but you've got to sit there for hours and hours. And the other con that happens here, I don't know if it's the same in the States, is that you have to have your purpose-built charger, don't you, to charge your car, and they can charge you a higher tariff to charge your car for your electric than perhaps your household tariff. So the whole thing is a con. In cold weather, your car might not start, or you'll
yeah,
get half the mileage that you would get if it was like moderate weather, and the risk of the bloody thing exploding because the batteries
yeah,
catch fire. And
yeah.
where is that when they're trying to sell you these lovely electric cars? Where is all that information?
That would be in the fine print that you can't
You
see.
can't ever read them.
The
Exactly.
invisible ink.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah, so
I
Steve,
Yeah.
wonder if just the last point, but I wonder if is it just another way of restricting our movements because they know they're not efficient. They know you can't travel for miles and miles and miles with them. So is it just another way of restricting our travel?
I
I
think
wonder
so.
that.
I do.
so
I think
now,
so because most of them are, you know, they're controlled. I mean, you don't even have to steer. You don't have
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
anything. You know, I'm sorry. I don't like to fly. I like to keep my
No.
feet on the ground. And I'm certainly not going to get into a vehicle that's going to drive me somewhere and be in like certain traffic. The gas pedal gets stuck or whatever, wide open, crash into. No, no, thank you. I'd rather be in control myself.
And we saw a program which was a bit futuristic the other week. We didn't finish watching it, but part of what we did see was that this woman gets into the car and she's a police officer and she's trying to go to a certain address, and the police station say, no, you're not going there, we want you to come back into the police station. And so the car reroutes itself, so she's got absolutely no control over the car. And as you said about the Neuralink, what happens if they just turn that off? They just decide,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to unplug you. So sorry, Matt, you didn't get a word
oh
in
no,
there.
no,
What's your thoughts?
it's just funny. It's just laughable at how many humans are willing to relinquish control of their own lives, you
Yeah.
Yeah.
know? And when I look at the whole environmentalist debate, especially encompassing the electric car, I mean, it's just such a farce, common sense farce, that it makes you question the true ulterior motives behind it. And to me, it just stems from human sanctimony. It's that there's just these sanctimonious people who could give a rat's ass whether or not they're accurate, whether or not the fallout is. But the moment they open their mouth, they want to show, hey, I'm more compassionate than this guy. Yep, I'm not driving an electric car, but I sure support them. I support the government programs, all those things. So human sanctimony is the main thing. And yeah, I forgot my other thought. But it is just incredibly perplexing to me that a population, a naive population, and so I guess that's what it is I wonder if these people are truly more naive to all this, or if they've got ulterior motives, meaning they're part of the control aspect of this planet, and the thought of controlling like you say, whether it be the distance that we travel, the fuel we use to put in the car, but either way, they just want control. And the beauty of, I heard this at one point and it really resonated with me, because you could be out fighting for the poor, or listen, I'm for African Americans or whatever, you can pick your cause. But the moment you pick the earth, I'm in defense of the earth. Now you've got this massive victim, Mother Earth. She's speechless. She needs you to come to her defense. And that is such an easy cop out for sanctimonious humans. Oh, yeah, I'm an environmentalist. Doesn't that say everything you need to know about me? And truth be told, for anybody to be pursuing that path either means they're ignorant or they're corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well,
Yeah,
I think right now.
But
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, because it doesn't make common sense. Anytime that something doesn't make common sense, there's typically a reason for it, and it's a word called corruption.
Yeah. Well, and Matt, you know how I feel about weather, and you know how I feel about the seeding and all that kind of stuff. Oh.
That's my blood boil every day. I'm on that blooming bandwagon every day. I can't stand it. Sorry, Amy, but yeah,
no. It's all good, but you know, I know about the cloud seeding, the chemtrails, all that. I'm all about it, but I think that Mother Earth is actually speaking right now, because I told you about the cable wires being cut, but with all the volcanic activity under the seas taking place right now, the earthquakes under the seas right now, she's saying, I've had enough of your crap, people. Check it out. You're going to feel my wrath right now. And so she's fighting back. And I'm telling you, I'm a Mother Earth fighter. I am. Yeah. I'm not a, like some of these environmentalists that are fake, phony, and whatever, but she is powerful. And I don't know if I can show you, but I'm going to try. I'm going to turn my camera to try to show you this, and hopefully it'll work. Oh, crap.
Yeah, it'll work.
So this is where I'm starting right now and getting prepared to add. I got a fire going.
Describe it for the listeners.
This is inside right now. And
so describe what you're seeing, though.
What you're seeing is a number of different succulents and the type of flowers. These are all edible and medicinal. Okay. Beautiful. And these, I'm gonna shrink that back down. These are all going to go outside. And I've told you, Matt, I don't have a huge property. I've got an acre here where I live. And when I moved here, I'm moving my camera, sorry. It had one tree, one. I've planted 119 trees right now. I've got a bunch of babies to go, but I'm putting back in because Mother Earth needs us, you know, and we need her. And to me, I'm creating what I call my own sanctuary. And this besides my other indoor garden that I've got with different fruits and vegetables, it's sustainable. It feeds us, you know, where I'm not going to the grocery store and buying their chemical laden, dyed fruits and vegetables and whatever. So to me, I mean, this is something that we should all do, even in the smallest way. And I'm totally off topic. I realize, I'm sorry about that, but I think that people don't connect enough with Earth, with our Earth,
100%.
You know, and get grounded to where they can see things the way that they should be seen. Instead, they're watching the television, you know, they're getting all those, I'll go with radioactive waves, you know, that are penetrating their minds and turning them into slush. So they follow along with all these crazy ideas of, let's give you a chip implant, let's give you the CV, you know, jab, let's get you to buy a Tesla.
But yeah, but I think that's by design. I think that's by design. We have been removed from nature because you can't be in nature and not see the divine at work, can you?
No.
You know? And I think on the subject of protecting the planet, I mean, how arrogant is that? The planet's going to look after itself. And if that means wiping out the human race, It will do that. The whole
Yeah,
thing is such a lie, so ridiculous. Yeah.
it is. And Matt, you've heard me say for years, everything that we see, everything that is created, I don't care if it's a table, the higher source, the higher power, God, whatever you want to call them, gave the idea and brought the materials to somebody to create these things for us to be able to use and enjoy and whatever. But it wasn't just some joker, that says, "Oh, we're going to show you this." It was the creator that did that,
Yeah,
and
and I think
they don't realize the blessings.
well, without question, when I look at your wonderful home there and your little slice of what I like to call, it's just you found your little slice of heaven right here in the shit show planet Earth. And that's what it's all about. I think the creator wants us to find our peace in our surroundings. And yes, the natural human instinct, without question, is to take care of the planet. It's innate within us. But then again, you get people who want control of your life, and that way sensible plans are shoved down, sensible ones meaning, hey, let's recycle, let's do the things that make sense. Those get coupled with an ulterior agenda, which is to
Yeah.
restrict us and control us. Yeah. Now, I know
Well,
we're
and
off topic. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the things that get recycled, people don't even realize what they're recycled to. They're put in food. You get specific types of drinks, and if you look at them, you can actually see the plastic pieces in what you're drinking. Certain meat. I mean, wow, really? Think about what you're eating. Look at what you're doing. And they just
Okay, and
don't.
so when
So,
you look at all of this, that example right there, from people putting fentanyl to make drugs go further, from using plastics or preservatives or all these things, does it all not come down to the dollar, to money,
Of course
the
it
motive
does. Of
behind all this?
course it
yeah.
Yeah,
does.
yeah, it's just a
And, and,
case of,
and
go ahead.
absolute mind control too, because the more they can weaken the human spirit, the more control that they have, that they can get them to do anything they want. Where like the three of us and many others that are probably listening, hopefully, they can't control us because we have free will, we have free thinking, we realize what's going on, and we're trying to get everybody else to understand, or those within our communities, and hopefully we're waking people up.
Well,
At least I hope so.
the whole recycling thing is an absolute con over here, because my partner used to drive trucks and would work in recycling, and he said, like, your recycling is all supposed to go in a pink sack over here, and he said they're just put into landfill. People think they're recycling stuff, it's just going straight into landfill. But what annoys me is, don't wrap all our food in plastic in the first place then. But it's always the little man, isn't it? The problem's left with us. No, but you've decided at some point in the last few decades to wrap all our food in plastic. Don't do that. And then we wouldn't have to
Yeah.
recycle it, would we? Anyway, we're way off topic. So,
Yes, we are.
so on balance then, what do we think of Elon Musk? I think my feeling is that he's not one of the demons. I don't think he's a demon. I think that what I've learned about him from looking today is I think he likes a lot of glory and acknowledgement, and I think he likes a lot of money. But I'm not convinced that he's a demon. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Amy?
I don't think he is either. I did for a while because I thought, oh, this guy's pretty shady in some of the things that he does. But I think that he's done a lot of good things, and I think that he has pretty good intentions. I don't know if you know what he's been talking about as far as that everything app, where X is going to be the everything app. And the one thing that I do appreciate about that is that the idea that we have been suppressed with from so many different technologies, including medical, whether it be, natural or this or that, it's going to enable people to be able to look and find a lot of different information that I think is going to help people in a different way of being healthy. And that I appreciate. And we'll have better access to our records. Because, I mean, I don't go to the doctor. I think I've been to the doctor maybe a dozen times in my lifetime, and I'm 60. So I just don't go. I don't agree with most of what they say. But for those that do go, they don't have the access. They can't get the access. They don't know where to, how to ask for this or that. But I think with that, they're going to be able to have more access to more of their own information. And I don't think that it'll be, for other people, they won't be able to do that. But as far as getting into, like, I can't get into Matt's, I can't get into yours, but I can get into my own, and I think that that's going to be beneficial and to help us in maybe different health matters. I think that that's going to be a good thing, and more of other types of technologies also that we've not been able to be privy to at this point. So I think that that's going to be good. Things that have been held since, before we were ever born. But I appreciate that, where we're not finding that on most other platforms, and certainly not Facebook. I mean, they would never, they just block you, say it's censored, it's misinformation, whatever the case. So I think that there's going to be good things. So do I think he's a demon? No. I think he's eccentric. I think that a lot of his comments are polarized for sure. But yeah, I think he's going to be an okay person.
All right.
What do you think, Matt?
Well, number one, I marvel at the human experience of people like that. Whether you're like a Kardashian or whatever it is, but Aaron Rodgers or now Robert Kennedy Jr. I mean, just the lives these people are living are so extraordinary because of just their ability to reach and control so many different people. And I really had hoped, again, with the little I know about Elon Musk, he just struck me as a rebel. And rebels to me are good because that's the way our country was founded. A bunch of rebels saying we're not going to just conform to the way these kings and queens and all these people have envisioned our lives to unfold. And so I hope he remains a white hat. I'm concerned that once you get to those heights, that you need to conform. You need to conform, or you'll no longer be walking the planet. I mean, that type of thing. I always worry to the extent that the dark side will go to maintain their power. Now, with all that said, there's a caveat in there because I believe that because of AI and the speed which things are going here, we're going to get the verdict in on the Book of Revelations about the the rapture and the Armageddon, and most importantly, if there truly was an Antichrist. Okay, and so the irony in the Antichrist is he's popular; everybody loves it before he turns. Okay, and so. For a while there, I thought Obama might be the Antichrist because superly worldwide popular and comes across as a good guy. Trump, again, he certainly doesn't strike me as the Antichrist today because I really like his narrative. Elon Musk. So you can see when I look at these things, I'm looking from a global perspective and just what role does this guy play in the big picture? And because it's crazy. It's on one side, on one hand, you guys have presented evidence that says the guy can't be sane. Your typical compassionate human being would never go down those types of paths, those self-serving paths. On the flip side, again, like you say, X, letting people back on the platform, encouraging free speech. If you've got truth on your side, you're never afraid of free speech. And that says a lot about. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, and we talked about that, I think, last week when we were talking about the algorithms, because if what you're putting out is misinformation or bad or disinformation, you're automatically censored, and it'll say, content, has disinformation, whatever, may not be whatever. But when you're telling the truth, they can't block you. You know, they don't put up those censors, which I think is fantastic. But I wanted to hit on something because you were talking about Elon and then you mentioned Trump. And, you know, I look at the two of them and they both live amazing lives. They really do. And I don't believe that with Trump in particular, that he wants to do anything but give back to the people. You know, I remember several years ago when he was first in office and he had everybody there, including a bunch of military families and whatnot. And he said, you know, about the storm. Remember the storm comment? Right. So now lately we've got people saying that the storm is upon us. And most people think that.
Amy, let me stop you there. Bring the listeners up to speed on the storm.
So the storm, a lot of people think that the storm is, you know, a political fight. Okay. A military fight. You know, that we're bringing out and we're bringing the dark to light, so to speak. You know, the cabal, the Illuminati, the evildoers, and we're bringing all that persona, all the things that they've done, and like what you're talking about too, you know, with medical and all these different things, and the poisons of just all of it. Anyhow, bringing that into light, so people are realizing what's been done, waking people up, so to speak. But I say we are the storm because we are the ones that are waking people up. We're aware of it all. We've been aware of it all. And whether we, you know, research stuff on the internet or not is, to me, it's basically irrelevant because our inner guides tell us what's true and what's not, you know? So, but I think that we are the storms because we're looking at it going, okay, you're not awake, but you're going to be.
There's a case that it has to be us. I mean, it has to be the people rise up because there's only two sides in this fight. There's those that are in control that don't want to relinquish it, and those of us that want more of our freedom. And so we have to be the storm.
Yep.
All right. So let's do final thoughts. All right. Amy, you want to start with you?
Oh, no. I just hope everybody enjoys this and they kind of see our different perspectives and, you know, maybe they'll comment. I don't know. You have a comment section, right? So maybe we'll get some comments and, you know, take a look at those and see what people think and learn from them as well on their opinions. And we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And I love you both. Thank you again for having me with you today.
My pleasure, Lucinda.
Yeah, the guy I kept referring to who has extended the ideas or the conversation around Neuralink. And I will say there are other companies doing this a similar thing. So it's not that Neuralink's the only one. But his name is Peter Diamandis. And actually, I'd like to talk to him because I can't think of anybody that I've looked at recently who I would differ in opinion with so much as him. So yeah, maybe we'll have him on. But that was his name, Peter Diamandis.
Okay. And elaborate a little bit more now. So what was his stance kind of? I know you alluded to it earlier, but
yeah, so I was looking at Neuralink and I happened to, and I was looking up about Elon Musk, and I'll tell you the podcast I came across. So the guy who runs the podcast is Tom Bilyeu. I don't know how I pronounce it, but it's Bilyeu on YouTube. And he had this guy, Peter Diamandis, on, and they were talking about AI, the push for immortality, that, you know, this idea that you can, on one level, upload your mind onto some kind of cloud, your consciousness onto some kind of cloud. And also that medical science will be able to progress enough, look at your genetics, and to give you like an extra 20, 30, maybe even 50 years extra life. So he was talking about that. He was talking about Elon Musk, and he was talking about simulation theory, which is another theory that people talk about a lot when you get into the whole AI realm. So But the point, the context in which I brought him up was that he was extending this idea of Neuralink, and he was talking about what it might mean if we could see each other's thoughts and we could have really deep relationships with each other because we'd know everything that we were thinking. And he was promoting that as a good thing. And I really don't think that would be a good thing at all. As a therapist, I don't think that would be a good thing. So yeah,
No.
that's why I mentioned this guy.
Got it.
Can
Thanks
I say one more thing?
Please do.
Okay, this has to do with the AI and that the artificial intelligence. But what people need to realize too is that with AI, they can do a number of things. Like they can take our voices, voice recognition, right? And they can take our photos. And then imagine, if you will, and I can say that this has happened because it happened this week. If you got a phone call from your brother, your sister, and all of a sudden they needed money, right? You're talking to them, you're looking at them. They need money. Something happened and they don't want you to ask a lot of questions, but they want you to do this, or can you send it to me on this type of a card kind of deal? So they've got you rushing off to whatever store to purchase this card so that it can be transferred to them, but it's not them. It's not their voice. It's not really them. And before you are even able to leave the store, they've already got it. They've already got the card number. They've already activated. They've already put an email address to it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now you got that money and it wasn't your family member. Imagine that.
Well, I was listening to somebody who said that very soon, like video evidence won't be admissible in a court of law because you can't trust it. You can no longer trust it. And that's happening now.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
so we must
silver
stop talking, otherwise we'll be here forever.
No, I know, but there's a silver lining in that cloud because
okay, tell us.
I just saw an AI video of Joe Biden. It was his face, his mouth, him speaking, and he's going, "Yeah, I shit my pants." I can't remember anything. So you get. At least we get to find some humor within. But yeah, it's along the lines of the virtual reality and that augmented reality that's happening. The fact that, and again, this AI stuff, Amy, you've been talking about for a long time. Actors, AI, what's happening on the planet. So I guess in concluding with me, or my view of all this is, most importantly, never lose sight of the fact that we got to enjoy the ride. There are people who lived centuries before us that would have done anything to witness what we're watching unfold on this planet, as sickening as it can be. I leave the problems and all that. That's God's problem, man. He's being witnessed. All of it's being witnessed. And I think the three of us in our, there's something about us that burns inside our soul that says we need to fight for a better planet. And that starts with, hey, the environment is part of it, but it starts with freedom. It starts with freedom. And it's just a natural for human beings like us to fight that central control because we know there are ulterior motives. And so this has been super enlightening for me. I'm sure all the listeners learned a lot like I did about Elon Musk. But my final thought is thank the two of you very much. I'm sorry, I had something fall. And keep the faith.
Absolutely.
Right? All right. You guys good to go?
Yeah.
All right. Such a pleasure, you two. We will talk to you soon, okay?
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye, darling. Bye, Amy.
Bye. Bye.